moly, welcome to an Equity.Guru investor roundtable. I am Rob. Next to me in the basement, as usual, well, not always, but when there's four of us in the basement is Galen. What are you making today?
Blueberry muffins, man.
Blueberry muffins. Straight up in the penthouse, living large with all his gold money, is Vishal. And kitty corners, the masked marauder. It is the Phantom.
Chris Opario.
Chris Opario.
Otherwise known as El Grande Puta Palabra.
Nice.
AKA the Great Word Whore.
All right. Well, we've got two wrestling events coming up. You want to smack us with this before we start talking about Falcon Gold?
So Thursday, April 7, we're at the Harvard Convention Center with Nation Extreme Wrestling for NEW 6.
Wow.
And then Cinco de Mayo at the Commodore for our first, I don't know what we're going to call it, Cinco de Loco or something like that. Man, that thing's hard to see. And then details to be announced. And then we're back at the Commodore in June. It's going to be good times. Get out and watch some wrestling, boys.
The first big one is April 7th.
Yeah, the next one's April 7th.
April 7th. All right.
3 championship matches. Whoop, whoop.
Nice. And you're gonna actually start us off, tassel and all. And now we're talking Falcon Gold. We talked a lot about gold lately. It's a very interesting topic, but in this case, a specific company out of Vancouver, Kareem Rayani. It is FG on the Venture Exchange. What do you know? Falcon Gold, FG on the Venture Exchange, and Chris will lead us off.
So we talked about Falcon quite a bit over the last 6 to 9 months. It's essentially a project generator, not so much a project generator as a project finder. Karim Riani, old deal guy, promo guy, decided, not old as in ancient, but like has been around for a while, decided he'd had enough of promoting other people's deals, decided he wanted to get into one of his own and do it the right way. And Falcon Gold is it, FG on the Venture Exchange. Look, it's a small company. The market cap is not humongous by any stretch. Realistically, I think what were we at, like 10 million last time we talked?
I think so.
10 million.
We're still around there.
So, a couple of Burnaby condos worth of gold mines. The thing with it is if you actually go into the number of projects that these guys have, they got projects in BC, projects in Ontario, projects in Newfoundland, Argentina, Chile. The focus is definitely on the Central Canada flagship project, which is basically ring marks around Agnico Eagle's property at the Hammond Reef Gold Deposit, which apparently has about 3.3 million ounces of gold in it, which is a nice big wedge. If at any point those guys decide they want to take on some extra land on that property, they're going to have to come to Falcon to get it. Or Falcon's sister company, Marble Discoveries, which is run much the same way. The business model here is not one of raise money, go drill, necessarily. It's buy projects that have a bit of closeology to them, maybe have a bit of history to them, that are decently prospective, but they're not going to be in a hurry to go and do a 20,000 mile drill program. They might advance things by going and doing some surface sampling. They might fly the odd helicopter and mag cam over it. They might occasionally chuck a drill in the ground where they know there's already going to be some gold. But this isn't one of those, like, over the next 8 years, we're going to expand this out to a massive 43-101 deal. This is one of these, like, right now, what metal is hot? Can we get a property that's next to someone big in that sector? If we can get that for a reasonable price, advance it a little bit, and be there when that sector blows up. This is basically what Falcon Gold does. Like, if you've got a property that's got alfoil underground and alfoil is having a hot run, they're going to be an alfoil company, right? They'll just go to the mats wherever there's money to be had in the mining sector. That's a decent strategy. They're not quite prospect generators. They're not going to go out there and work 6 different projects at once and then try and find someone to take them. They're just going to basically gather. And when they gather something that's not core, that's not like gold, eventually they're going to spin that out, if it's got any success, into another company that the shares of which will be gifted to Falcon Gold owners. So you buy the Falcon Gold shares, you sit on them for a little while. You might look at the stock chart and say, hey, it hasn't moved much from 9 cents over the last 6 months. Sure, but in the meantime, they've got all these properties that they're spinning out that will give you extra shares and extra things, and that's where your profit lies. If they do hit a nice one, if Agnico comes along and says, sure enough, Falcon, here's a bunch of money for your property, that's great. Chances are it'll be spun out into a dividend, though, and not into a massive drill program. So you're dealing with a small group where any lift on a 9 cent stock is a 5 cent increase or alternately reduction in share price, right? So there's volatility here. Now, if you want to just play it as a trade, it might go from 9 cents to 12 cents. It might go from 12 cents back to 8 cents. There's trading to be had. But the guys that are on the inside of this thing have pretty much loaded themselves up for quite some time. Karen Riani is one of the major shareholders in the company. And I always see that as being a real sign that those guys are in for a long time. They're not necessarily just going to spin everything out, all the paper out one morning and then go on to the next deal. They're entrenched into this Falcon Gold deal. It's working for them. They're happy with the way things are going. And, this is why we keep talking about it.
Galen?
Reveal.
You say tough act to follow, but agree or disagree or thoughts on what the mass marauder had to say?
Well, they are a stockpiler, and they aren't a generator, as Chris said. So in some ways, there's benefits and drawbacks to both. It's just a different style of business in terms of the mining industry. But the benefits are, as Chris said, that you could go to bed one night as a stockholder within Falcon Gold and wake up in the morning being a stockholder in Falcon Gold and a new SpinCo. So there's value in that in terms of prospectivity, because again, it depends on how well that new company does and if it's, forward through to all the exploration that it can get. So it's a different philosophy that you're looking at with these guys. Now, as Chris mentioned, Karim is not a fly-by-night in terms of this particular project. He's not expecting everybody else to throw their cash down so he can leave to Oaxaca on a moment's notice and let the company dangle. He's actually invested in what's going on. So in terms of safety in that regard, they've sort of de-risked that aspect, so you don't have to worry about them flaking off at one point and just going, yeah, well, it's a shell now, right? So basically, I guess what the thing that you want to do is that you want to trust that Karim is going out there and finding good deals, that he's actually looking at the properties and making sure that, closeology, yes, absolutely, but is there actual potential in this rather than just geographical location? That would be the thing that, I would want to know when I was investing in a company of this sort. But from what Chris says and from what I understand, Karim is, very much involved in the whole process and is also, looking for something that's going to gain value rather than just put a number or a name on this portfolio sheet. So, it's spread out all over the place. And in some senses, it's kind of scattershot, gives you a bigger opportunity. You're not locked into one region. You're not locked into one type of gold showing. You're looking at all sorts of different kind of manifestations across the globe. So changing jurisdictions, risk evens out across the board. It's, as Chris said, not probably a growth play in terms of the stock's going to go to 550 in 3 weeks. It's not that particular kind of play. It's something that offers you a bigger hand and exposure to a different set of portfolio assets in the long run. And, who knows? If Central Canada does pay off, then you're going to end up with a nice move upwards. And, as Chris said, a dividend payout, they're not going to necessarily throw it all back into the ground again. So as an investor, you're going to benefit more, I suppose, from a cash point of view than a company, for instance, a junior that's actually trying to go ahead with development, because as soon as they get their cash, it's going right back into the ground or into putting up buildings and a facility. So I like these guys. I think that they're not new in terms of companies, but not necessarily new in terms of experience. You can look at it that way. Fresh start. and also with a very concerted mission. So, yeah, as far as juniors are concerned and this type of prospect play, I like these guys.
Yeah. All right. We're talking about Falcon Gold, FG on the Venture Exchange. Karam Rayani is the CEO, boss man out of Vancouver. And our golden boy himself, I mean, it's Fischel. I mean, what the hell's he going to say? But
all gold out, all golded out. You know, we had a nice discussion on gold companies, and on the investor deck, you know, we saw Falcon Gold is actually adjacent to one of the companies we talked in our previous video. So just a quick comment about, you know, what I see here with Falcon Gold, Closeology. You know, both Chris and Galen have been talking about that, and obviously, you know, the management's betting on higher prices, but I believe they're also betting on higher demand here for gold. If you look at all their properties, it is adjacent to either a producing mine or, you know, a past producer or a discovery. And the idea is that hopefully that gold vein or, you know, silver vein or whatever will extend, you know, into Falcon's properties. If they do some drilling to find something there, that might entice, you know, a big boy like Agnico, which if you read about some of the stuff that's been going on in the gold industry, a lot of the majors haven't really been spending too much money on exploration. So this is like that niche where a lot of these juniors and explorers have sort of jumped into are doing that and are hoping that some of these big boys will say, hey, you know, we have to increase our reserves. You have land right next to us. You have a bit, you know, you have something under there. We know that the vein extends there. Hey, we'll throw a couple of $1 million at you guys and buy that land package from you. And if you look at the most recent news about acquiring the Valentine Gold South project, you can see here the number one, well, reason they likely bought it, you can see here from the map, is the fact that it is next to a property, the Valentine Gold property, which hosts 6.8 million ounces of gold and is also adjacent to Marvel Discovery, which again is a spinoff of Falcon, Matador Mining and True Precious Metals Corp. So that's the whole, you know, that's the strategy next to these projects, hoping that the vein will extend onto their land. And I think, hey, you know, that's, again, it is, mining is always a puzzle. You never know what's under the ground, but I think it's, you know, highly prospective if you're near a past producing mine or a resource and you're hoping for that extension of the vein. And it's exciting, right? Maybe that's how crazy I am sometimes, but I do love this whole exciting plays of, hey man, there could be something under there. And I think that sort of sets you up. You know, I'm not saying there is definitely something under there, but Falcon is trying to minimize the risk by jumping onto properties and at good prices, by the way, cheap prices, you know, that are adjacent to something that's producing. In terms of the charts, yes, we did talk about Falcon Gold when it broke above 7.5 cents. Since then, you know, the stock was just ranging between 7.5 cents to the downside and then 9 cents to the upside. And I've drawn this, basically this wedge or triangle pattern, whatever you want to call it. We talked about, you know, price being restricted and just bouncing above our trend lines. And take a look at this. We actually finally got that breakout on March 16th, 2022. And if we take a look at the historical data or the volume on March 16th, we got 680,500 shares traded. So pretty large amount of volume. If I just scroll, you know, above, you don't see anything above 500,000, and you don't see anything above 680,000 for quite a lot of months, actually. You know, I'm not going to try to look for it, but that's really what you want to see when you get a breakout. You want to see not just strong. Yep. Oh, you don't want to just see a strong candle, but you also want to see strong volume there. So that's, you know, exciting. And you can see here, we just couldn't get above 10 cents there. And we're basically back at this 9 cents level. And I think this might actually be a good opportunity to jump in on the idea that we broke out above 9 cents. And there's probably some buyers here saying, hey, you know, there's someone buying a large amount, or 680,000 shares were traded on this breakout. So we know there are buyers that are basically, you know, front running this breakout as well. And perhaps this is a good time to maybe pick up some shares, have your stop losses if you are trading it, just maybe 2 cents below your purchasing price at 7.5 cents, and you just ride this. And I think Chris mentioned that 12 cent level, which is as a swing trade probably going to be your first take profit level if you are looking at this as a trade. But if you're like us who really like gold, then if gold can break above this 1960 zone, and again, gold is actually just ranging as well between 1960 and 1880. But if we get that break above gold on 1960, I think that's really exciting for even the junior miners such as Falcon Gold, which could probably take us way past 12 cents there.
All right, we've each have 7,500 bones. The last roundtable we did with a sector gold sector, we spent the entire wad and heard the bell. Will it happen again with Falcon Gold? We start with the Mexican Marauder.
Look, I think the last time we talked about Falcon Gold, we mentioned that it was a big up and down swinger. And I think from memory, I said, throw some in at this price and be the bully at the table. I think someone listened because, in the last 3 months, it's gone from 5.5 cents up to 9.5 cents. That's a double. Well done, players. Good job. Someone's gone in there and shoved the board around a little bit and made some cash. Now, does that mean that I'd put the same down again today because I expect it to continue going up? Probably not. This is a swingy little stock, and it moves hard because guys are obviously trading it. So in a trade scenario, do I want to be the guy that picks this as being the bottom? It just doesn't look like the bottom. It looks like maybe a level off after a sustained upward run. Either that or someone's just building a slow position.
Right.
If that's the case, then this is a good time. But I'm a little bit more inclined to sort of really go value shopping when it comes to something that's as up and down as this. If it drops to, let's say, 8 cents on Friday, then I'd be jumping all over it. If it drops to 7.5, you let me in. But at this price, I'd want to see it moving through 10 cents. If it gets through 10 cents, all bets are off.
Exactly.
I think that one thing I will note is that every week you get news out of this company that they've staked more land. And every week that sustained volume just continues moving, right? So they're clearly good at keeping people interested. For everyone who decides they've made their money and moves out, someone else is moving in at the same price. And what are you looking at?
I'm looking at stats. Go ahead. Keep talking.
Like Brady Bunch style.
Well, I admire you.
So, I might throw $1,000 on this thing, see if it wriggles it loose up above 10. Or I might be a little bit devious and just throw the whole goddamn lot in there one day if I can see the level 2's a little slim.
Yeah.
And that I could buy this thing up to 10.5 cents, see if it can get other people interested, then maybe. But, that really depends on your how many adult diapers you have handy and your bladder content level.
So sorry, what were you starting with? Were you starting with 75? Or that's
75. I'd put a grand down just to see what happens.
Okay.
But I might play some silly bugger games with this stock more than I would others.
I got you.
Because the stock is an up and down swinger, which is
It's an up and down swinger. Like if I can convince people to hold on as it approaches 10 cents instead of just bailing out at 9 and waiting for it to drop to 7, bailing back in. It's
just kind of what he looks like somehow.
Like we could all of us could sit in a room. We could go down to Cactus Club, order some chicken wings, hit our phones, put $7,500 each, and take this thing to 20 cents, right? So to think that someone's not going to do that at some point, I think is silly, especially at a 10 million valuation.
Galen, Cashamunda.
My philosophy has always been to search for value long term. So this one's a bit of a riskier play for me. And as by the chart has shown, it seems to be hitting a peak at its current rate. So I'm thinking there's going to be a pullback of some sort, whether it be people just going from getting a little bit of profit off and waiting to buy in some more. So I don't know if I would jump in right away. I would be more inclined to throw money at it and at about 6.5 cents at this point. I mean, I think there's probably going to be that kind of a pullback. That's
Okay.
me, and I'm not your professional analyst, so that's
wouldn't be
how I
worth
would play
that.
it. I'm extremely conservative, and this one just shows me signs that it's a little bit unstable. And yeah, someone has pushed it up. Well, what happens when that
Right.
someone has decided that maybe they want to move elsewhere? So that's my thing right there. I would like to see it do a bottom pattern more.
Yeah.
Then perhaps I'd be a little more inclined to step in.
We
There's all
should, we
sorts of
should
potential
remember,
here.
though,
Yep.
some companies are more than happy to stay at the 10-cent level, right?
Yep.
Like rather than going on a 20-cent run, they spin something off for another 10 cents somewhere
Yep.
else. Their initial stock drops down to 8 and 7 or whatever because they're
Right.
just comfy at that place.
Yep.
They can make moves. The market doesn't really pay attention, and I've definitely dealt with CEOs in the past who are like, look, if my stock goes to $1, I'm going to roll it forward. I don't know what to do with $1, right? This, I think, is one of those companies where if they're between 6 cents and 12 cents, they're fine.
Hide the
They don't
smack.
really
They're
know.
coming for you.
And it's actually, it's only 6 months ago this thing was banging from 7 cents to 12.5 cents every single month, right? Up, down, up, down. So, this is definitely a trade more than an investment right now. Unless you really take a long-term viewpoint that gold's going to go up and these guys are going to fall ass backwards into something that someone wants to pay a lot of money for.
Yeah. No, as I said, I just want to see a little more support at the price it's at right now
Yeah.
to know that I'm not going to play that roller coaster game. People step in and out. So yeah, I'm going to wait for it to pit out a little bit. I'm going to keep my dollars in. But I mean, if it goes down to like 7 or 8 cents, I'll probably throw 1,500 down and see where it goes.
Yeah.
You can see also the brutal honesty of the Equity.Guru posse, because we do some work with Falcon Gold, but we tell you what like it is and how we feel, and Vishal will be the final person to do so.
And just
Go
let me
for
say
it.
that I'm not estimating the quality of the company. This is my investment style. So I want to be clear about that.
And everyone knows we love gold, right? So
Yeah. Look, every single company is, even the ones that go by multiples. If you buy at the wrong time and sell at the wrong time, you're going to lose your money, right?
Exactly.
Like we saw, we did one of the cannabis companies a couple of years back that had gone from dropped 95%. In the 6 months that it had dropped 95%, if you bought at lows and sold at highs along that trajectory downwards, you'd have had like a 500% a 500 times return on your money, right? So it's possible to make money on a losing stock,
Yeah.
depending on where you're in and where you're out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and by the way, you already mentioned a while ago that we actually, the last time we talked about them, we got a nice little bump.
yeah.
What are we doing, Vishal? What are
Yeah,
you
so
doing?
I'm going to be a bit conservative here as well. Both Galen and Chris mentioned that the stock is quite choppy, right? It does tend to bounce around a bit. Every time we get a breakout, we don't really shoot up higher. We sort of pull back and we trace here. So I'm going to be looking at this, as a trade personally. Obviously, I am bullish on the gold sector. And I think if those gold prices do go up higher, then yes, your Falcon Gold and most of the gold juniors will follow. But what I would do is I would be sitting here on around $1,500, but I would wait as well. I would wait for either that breakout above 10 cents, just because then you're sort of guaranteed for some momentum going higher up to 12. And then from there, we'll have to assess, because you don't really want to jump in a company and just see it range like this. And then secondly, if we do get that pullback, I think Chris is looking at 7.5 to 8 cents. I would agree with him. I would look around that area there. And if we can get some range there, I would then either put that 1,500, if we get that range bounce, or if we break above 10 cents. So right now, just waiting for either a breakout follow through or that pullback retracement, because we tend to see a lot of buyers, around this 8 to 7.5 cent zone. And sure, if we do go down to 6 cents there, which I believe, oh no, it's not the all-time lows, but that was the lows I think, we were looking at when we were looking for a bottom. So that could be where Galen finds a second bottom and he can join Chris and I while we're holding at 7.5 and 8 cents.
Galen's often finding bottoms.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, the viewers of this roundtable today have a bonus advantage over us, because they have a beautiful write-up, a mining write-up about the company today from one of our exquisite writers. And we also have Karam talking to Jody Vance on the site as well. So you can hear from the CEO and you can read the deeper details
It's a full dose
about
of Equity
Falcon.
Guru love.
Yeah. We've told you about the man. The company is Falcon Gold, FG on the Venture Exchange out of Vancouver, right down the street. We can't guarantee anything. We can't promise you anything, of course, based on what we've said or what we expect or what we're thinking. But that means you should do the research that we just referred to and other homework as well. And past performance does not guarantee future results. Damn it. We can't guarantee anything. But thank you for checking us out. And we look forward to seeing what happens with Falcon Gold. And we hope to check out the other content on our website. We'll see you next time on the Equity Guru. Oh, and by the way, April 7th.
NationExtremeWrestling.com. Buy your tickets. Or Ticketmaster.
NationExtremeWrestling.com, April 7th. Oh, we'll see you on the next Equity Guru Investor Roundtable. Cheers.
Bye. And we're out.